Surfing originated in the Hawaiian Islands centuries ago. The sport was introduced to California in 1907 and took off in more or less its present form in the 1950s. That's when Hobie Alter, an 18-year-old from Southern California, started making a name for himself in the world of surfing. He competed in some of the first surf contests, built his first surfboard in the summer of 1950, and by 1954, Hobie had started a small shop in Dana Point, doubling the massive surfboard industry to 2 shops. The boards then were made from balsa wood. The planks were glued together, originally with bark lamps. Here's one of Hobie's early inventions, a press that glued more than one surfboard blank at a time. The building of a surfboard was more of a work of art than a manufacturing process. Each one was built to the customer's individual needs. There was a tremendous amount of hand labor building a surfboard, which led to one of Hobie's next inventions, a shaping machine. It was brilliantly simple, a router mounted on a wooden frame, but as Hobie said, it worked bitchin'. Hobie was a master with a draw knife. He had to be, or after shaping over 1,000 balsa boards, he'd have become a one-legged soprano. It gave the board its basic shape, but most of the work was still with hand tools. A lot of hours went into hand building these boards. In 1954, they sold for $65. Fiberglass, a new development at the time, was used to finish the boards. It was a dirty, rotten, messy, sticky job. Here doing the glassing, Gordon Grubby Clark. These original Hobies have become quite valuable as collector's items. The ultimate proving ground for surfboard performance was, and is, Hawaii. Then as now, surfers from around the world come to ride the great waves in the islands. Hobie was there in 1955, riding waves and selling some surfboards. Here's one of the all-time classic surfers, Phil Edwards. Hobie opened a surfboard shop in Hawaii in the late 1950s and sold his entire inventory the first day. The sport continued to grow, but the availability and quality of balsa wood was becoming a problem. So in 1958, Hobie came up with the first polyurethane foam surfboard. He and Gordon Clark had spent several years developing the foam blanks, and it took several more years before surfers would fully accept the lighter weight, more maneuverable polyurethane foam surfboards. Now it's virtually all that is used. Foam completely revolutionized board making. The surfboard could now be made virtually any weight, size, or shape, limited only by the builder's imagination. There are hundreds of surfboard manufacturers throughout the world today. The production of Hobie surfboards still continues less than a mile from where it started over 30 years ago. In this computer age, the boards are still 100% handcrafted. There are now several Hobie sports retail stores throughout the country. They sell not only surfboards, but all the goodies modern surfers need. Leashes, wetsuits, various flavors of surf wax, clothes, beach towels, footwear, sunglasses, and on and on. It's changed a lot from Hobie's original shop, but so has surfing. Here, modern, high-performance shortboard surfing. In 1963, Hobie formed a skateboard team and introduced thousands to the sport of sidewalk surfing. It was the first mass-produced skateboard, with clay wheels replacing steel for better traction and flexible trucks for more maneuverability. The timing, balance, and movements of skateboarding greatly parallel surfing. The sport of surfing had changed forever. Hobie was about to change another sport, sailing. He and some of his surfing buddies got interested in catamarans. They wanted a boat that was light enough to launch off the beach by yourself and capable of sailing in and out through the surf. The original blueprints were drawn, complete with full batten main, kick-up rudders, and asymmetrical hulls. Before long, the first Hobie Cat was launched. They got what they wanted. One person could drag it up and down the beach by himself and sail it in and out through the surf. The Hobie 14 was lightweight, fast, and maneuverable. But the bottom line, like everything Hobie had built, it was fun. Like his first shaping machine, the design was brilliantly simple. It was easily disassembled and assembled. The price in 1968 was less than $1,000. Since it was so light, it was easily trailerable, or you could throw it on the roof of your car. By the early 1970s, the highways were littered with cars carrying families and Hobie cats to various oceans, lakes, rivers, and ponds throughout the country. Within a few years of its introduction, the Hobie 14 was the largest catamaran class in the world by far. Hobie wanted people to have fun with this creation, and fun they had. They organized regattas. They had racing classes from beginners to the most advanced. The regattas, the Hobie Cats, became a virtual lifestyle for many people. It wasn't long before Hobie Cat sailing became international. A sailing association was formed. A monthly magazine, the Hobie Hotline, was started to link the growing number of sailors throughout the world. World Championship regattas were held, first in Hawaii, Tahiti, the Caribbean, and now in virtually every corner of the world. With the amazing success of the 14-foot catamaran, Hobie built a 16-footer, shown here in preliminary tests. Hobie's real idea of testing is quite simple, though. Take the boat out in a 30-knot wind, overload it to the max, and see if it will break. You're looking at the early Hobie Cat Research and Development Department, which was made up of his surfing buddies. To begin with, Hobie thought R&D stood for recreation and deductions. Hobie's research and development was not in a lab, but in his favorite place, the ocean. In 1971, the Hobie 16 was introduced and quickly became the second most popular sailboat in the world. Today, it is the most popular sailboat in the world. The 16-footer was similar in design to the 14, but with a second sail, a hiking trapeze, and built for two people. Here's Hobie and Phil Edwards doing some R&D. In 1976, the Hobie 18 was introduced, taking sailors even faster and higher. In this case, R&D stands for risk and danger. In his spare time, Hobie and some of his friends took up model gliders. Tired of helping his friends assemble their gliders and convinced he could build one simpler and better, he did. Enter the Hobie Hawk. In 1981, after selling over 150,000 catamarans, Hobie designed and built a 33-foot monohull. A lot of people were surprised. Why a monohull?
Oh, I always decided it'd be nice to build one of these. I think maybe you get a little older in sailing and you want to sit down, put your feet down, stay a little drier, take a cooler along with you, and just maybe take it a little bit easier. And it's a different style of sailing. I still like both. The catamarans are a lot of fun, and it's nice to have a nice leisurely day out on a monohull. And I think it represented a new challenge. Somehow, I think building a catamaran builder, they didn't consider you a real boat builder, and making a monohull, you're building a real boat.
The Hobie 33 was different in design than most monohulls. It had a retractable keel, an easy-to-step mast, was simple to trailer and launch. The boat needed some testing, so the R&D department hauled it down to the water and dropped it from 12 feet. Hobie's designs and tests are almost always simple and to the point. Here's Crash, cruising around a little while later, no leaks. In 1984, Hobie Cat designers John Wake and Phil Edwards came up with a tower skip. It was great for fishing, water skiing, or just plain cruising. Let's go to the Hobie Cat factory and find out how Phil Edwards goes about designing boats.
I actually make the model into a working model, like that's what this is. I used to have a mast and a sail, and I even have a little Barbie doll that was in the trapeze that happened to be scaled for this size. And then based on this model, then they approve it as a full-size project.
Once approved, the process of building a boat, like a surfboard, is mostly done by hand. The Hobie Cat factory makes virtually every part themselves. The boats are assembled and disassembled to make sure everything fits. They are packed as separate units so the customer doesn't have the Christmas morning assemble the swing set nightmares. The Hobie 17 was introduced in 1985. It was a high-tech version of the original 14-footer. A single-man boat featuring retractable dagger boards, hiking racks, and vertical cut mylar sails. Like its predecessors, It was fun and fast. But it does take some wind. In 1988, a 21-foot Hobie cat was built, the fastest yet. The Hobie 21 was chosen Boat of the Year by Sail magazine. It was one of 2 boats selected to compete in the newly formed Professional Sailing Series, a series of boat races where they compete for $500,000 in prize money. This is one of the events held on San Francisco Bay. The name Hobie had become a household word. A company was formed to make a line of sportswear that reflected the Hobie image. Hobie Apparel uses the latest manufacturing technology and delivers some of the most innovative fashions. The Hobie image had come to symbolize the California lifestyle, the beach, the surf, the sun, and most of all, fun. One thing an outdoor person really needs is a good pair of sunglasses. So Hobie's eldest son decided to make his own. He developed optically perfect glass lenses laminated with a polarizing film to cut out 100% of the sun's ultraviolet rays. The most recent innovation by Hobie is his largest and most unique boat design to date, the Hobie 60, a sleek 60-foot motor-driven catamaran able to sleep 8, cruise at 20 knots with a range of 6,000 miles. It's due to be launched in the fall of 1989. This newest design by Hobie has the yachting world buzzing with excitement. After everything he'd built to date, why a 60-foot power catamaran?
I'm not quite sure. I've been playing around with a 46-foot monohull, power monohull, and I find it a little tippy. A few things, just doesn't ride as nicely as it should, and I guess you sit out there with nothing to do and you start thinking, I can make one better than that, and well, I'll make a model of it. So I made a model and that'll get it out of my system, and I'll kind of like the model. I thought, well, maybe we'd really like a real one. And so 2.5 years later and a couple of bucks, here we are.
Beginning as a 16-year-old shaping surfboards in his garage to Hobie stores worldwide, Hobie became a virtual legend in any sport he touched. What next? It's pretty corny, but Hobie loves to try and build a better mousetrap. I'm glad I'm not a mouse.